Hey guys, welcome back to the Don't Settle Squad podcast, episode 64, how to train around injuries and not lose momentum. If you drop off at the first sign of any niggle, you won't get far. Injuries are inevitable in sport in the gym if you train hard. I'll show you in this episode how to train around them and keep making progress. So this episode, inspired by the toe sprain that I have now. So those who follow me on Instagram would have seen it maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. After a session of Jiu-Jitsu, hurt my toe, and then the next day my toe was black and blue. Thought I broke it. Very sore. So yeah, look, those kind of things will happen. It was just a hard sparring round, bit of chaos in it. I can't remember exactly what happened, but yeah, afterwards, once the adrenaline went down, I knew, yeah, something has gone wrong here. So looks like it's only a sprain, and it's getting better each week, but obviously for Jiu-Jitsu it's a bit of an issue. So with my toe, I can move it backwards and forwards like that if you're watching on YouTube, but I can't bend it. That's like, it's still only bending like that much. So if I'm using my feet in Jiu-Jitsu and someone accidentally bends my toe that way, it hurts like a motherfucker. And obviously that's what I don't want. So yeah, I'll talk you through how I manage these things, because as I said in the intro, injuries are going to happen. Yeah, and that's going to be part of the first point. But injuries are going to happen if you're someone like me who's trying to train hard in the gym towards higher level goals. You want to train hard in jiu-jitsu or other sports. You're going to be getting different types of niggles and injuries, okay? And as I used to do in the past, if we just drop off or stop every time we get some sort of niggle or injury, you never get anywhere, okay? So that's what we're going to get into today. And we'll break it up into 3 points so you'll kind of see the full picture of it. So first point is that we need to drop the illusion. Okay, so our perspective around this is the first thing to tackle. Because I still remember nearly probably 10 years ago at this stage where I don't really know anything about the body and you're just picking up on mainstream stuff and it's more the protective route. Because that would have happened here when people saw my toe sprain on Instagram. You know, rest it, take these pills, do that, don't do jiu-jitsu, all this kind of stuff. And yeah, again, that's going down into... You don't want to go into fragilista territory where, yeah, any sort of niggle and you're just doing nothing and dropping off, okay? So yeah, around dropping the illusion, it's like I just said about 30 seconds ago, but just to reiterate it, you're going to be getting niggles and injuries, okay? So it's just to drop this whole illusion that there's some people out there, let's say even like me, who's got to higher levels of mobility, and then you just never get injured. That's just not how it works. I wish that was how it works, but that's not how it works, okay? So yeah, if you see anyone online and you think that they're not getting injured, I'll put it into 2 buckets. The ones who are being honest like me, even if they put in a lot of work on things like mobility and looking after their body, and they'll say, look, if you train hard, these things are going to happen. You can't be bulletproof, like all these terms we hear. You can't be immune to injuries. You can definitely prepare yourself for your sport to get less of them, which is what I've done, but you're still open to getting these niggles and injuries. So you'll have those people, but then on the other side, you will have these people saying, yeah, that you can be bulletproof, that you can train in certain ways that you never get injured. Just look at what they're doing. That's the easiest way. What have they done? And as you'll see, they're probably not doing much. For me, if I stopped training hard, I'd be pretty much injury free. But I don't want to do that. I want to train hard. I want to keep progressing in things. So it's just be careful who you're listening to on that. And that's what you'll kind of see. There is people out there, lots of great pages I follow, who they're getting after it, have reached high level things, but yeah, every now and then they'll get some injury and they'll just be open and honest about it, that you can't be bulletproof. And yeah, then you'll see the other pages maybe going on about that, either kind of lying to you to sell their own system, or yeah, they're not really doing anything themselves at all in terms of pushing their own body. So that's an important point, just to get over that first, folks. It's nothing to do with you. You might see these people and think, why am I always getting niggles and this guy's doing twice the amount of weights I'm doing, he doesn't seem to be getting niggles. He is getting them, okay? He's probably just not letting on. Was there anything else in that drop the illusion one? No, I think we'll move straight on to point 2 then. So what we need to do then when these injuries happen is decide on your commitments. Okay, and I'll talk you through my one. So for example, there's a difference between, if we're thinking of, like I said in the title, around how do we train around these injuries and not lose momentum. There's a difference if you're a soccer player in the Premier League or you're just playing Sunday League football. Okay? Sunday League football, you could be a dad and all these other things. Soccer doesn't really matter. It's not a massive priority. If you take the time off there, that's might be even what you want to do. But obviously, if you're a professional footballer, it's part of your career. You're going to be doing everything to train around it as much as possible and even push the boundaries on how quick you can get back. Okay, so it's important to say that at the start as well, because this question needs so much context. Because if someone asks me, how quick should I return to sport? Again, we have to go through all of this, okay? But that's an important one. Decide on your commitments. What have you committed to here? Like, are you happy with pushing the rehab boundaries as much as you can to get back as quickly as possible, and smaller or like a little risk of re-injuring it because you want to get back for a county final or something like that? Can you live with that? You have to talk through all these things with yourself and see, what can I live with in hindsight? And let's say in that example, maybe you've had too many injuries, you're sick of them, the match doesn't mean that much to you. Cool, then you're not rushing back. Or else, this is my last shot at a county final that I've never won. I'm getting on now, I mightn't be on the team next year. I want to go for it, and I'd rather go for it, and if I get another injury or something, that's fine, I can live with that. So you need to decide on your commitments for it. And I'll kind of talk you through my jiu-jitsu one as I'm going. So it was just this year, this year, I'm doing jiu-jitsu on and off, 6 years or something like that, and there's been some big injuries in between, broken legs and my chronic pain story at the start. So if I'm doing jiu-jitsu 6 or 7 years, I've only been on the mats maybe 4 or something like that, 4 or 4.5 or 5. And beforehand, it wasn't a massive commitment. Things like mobility, things like strength, were taking precedence over it, and the jiu-jitsu was something that came after that. But now this year I've made a commitment that I'm taking it more seriously, and it's linking in with I'm coaching jiu-jitsu now as well and teaching the beginners, and just part of my integrity. Think of it, if I'm doing strength training, mobility training, and I'm doing jiu-jitsu, but I'm a strength and mobility coach, I'm going to be taking them more seriously. But now that I'm actually coaching jiu-jitsu as well, in my mind, I want to take it more seriously now. And there was always a part of me that thought at some stage I'll take it more seriously for myself. So it's just kind of aligning now where I'm taking my own training more seriously, and I want to obviously take it more seriously for other people now that I'm coaching them. So I said at the start of the year that I'm going to set a schedule for jiu-jitsu, and I'm just going to go even if I'm injured. And I don't mean train through it, I'm just going to go and be there, and even if I can only just watch or help coach people a little bit and even just take a few mental notes, I'm going to do that rather than going to the gym instead. Okay, so that was just some of my own personal goals, and then lo and behold, I thought I broke my toe a few weeks later, and I was like, okay. Because, again, commitments require sacrifice. The times I did go up right after I hurt it, it is boring. I'm used to rolling and doing the drills and stuff, and then you can't really do much at all. I haven't even got on a sweat, and I'm there for a few hours, and I'm going home feeling like I haven't done anything. We all know that feeling, whereas I could have just went to the gym and trained. So, each commitment requires sacrifice, and you have to decide on those. So, because I decided that commitment, that's what I've been doing. I've been going, and the famous line I keep saying, if I can't do what I want, I'll do what I can. So even now, I'm maybe 3 weeks into the kind of 6 weeks of time it takes for the toe to heal. There's been some days where I show up and I'm just doing the drills and haven't rolled at all. There's some days where I'm doing a few light rolls. There's some days like yesterday where I actually did the full rolls. And there's some days that I've hurt my toe a little bit. Some days I haven't. So again, it's just up to you and your commitments and what way you want to go with it. And then the third point is understanding the injury. Okay, so this is obviously where you go to someone, if it's me or someone else. You need to understand the injury, because this has a massive impact on the rest of it. Because, is it just a muscle strain? Is it a tendon or ligament strain? Is it a bone issue? Is it a stress fracture? You have to know what it is, because training through some things can be okay, like this toe. Just flow roll. The worst that can happen is I'll hurt it and it might be sore for a few days. I'm not going to do more damage to it just by going very lightly, because all that's happening is someone might accidentally bend my toe that way, and I'm getting the bit of pain or whatever, but it's not bad. I'm not going really hard so that someone could injure it a lot more, for example. So all I'm really risking is maybe delaying the rehab a small bit. That's it, and I'd rather do that. But it'd be different if the toe was actually broken, we'll say. Or if it was a different injury that's more serious, then I'd just be sticking to the drills and I wouldn't be risking something like that. Okay, so it is important to understand what is the actual injury. And the other point I put in here then underneath was don't listen to the bubble wrap brigade. I kind of showed that at the start of, the minute people saw my toe, oh, don't do jiu-jitsu, oh, take these painkillers, do that, do this. And like, those things are usually coming from a good place. I want to make that clear. Like, there was some friends, some family, some different things. It's coming from a good place, but I just have to think. I've studied the human body for years, been obsessed with it. I've gone from A to Z with my own body. I've done, like, couldn't iron shirts at one stage to running an untrained barefoot shoe marathon, rehabbing a Mason fracture in 9 weeks when it usually takes 4 or 5, 20 weeks, less than half the time the doctors recommend it. So, I've been my own lab rat. I know the human body better than the vast majority of people, and I've proved it to myself. So that's what I just need to remind myself of. Like, if maybe my dad or mom is trying to look out for me saying rest it, they don't know anything about the human body or what it's capable of. They haven't done the things that I've done to understand it that deeply. So, I just understand it's from a place of care, but I'm not going to take their advice. Does that make sense? Like, if I'm a baker, I'm not going to take an advice from an accountant. If it's something to do with money, I take advice from the accountant. If I'm going to bake something, I'll listen to the baker, So it's following the results. It's that principle that I'm always coming back to. But what can happen when you don't understand about the body? That's why, look, I'm big on education, educating yourself about your own body. Like, it's your body. You live in it every single day, and yet you don't know much about it at all. And then when something happens, what's going on with my body? It's a bit mad when you just think of it all. Like, it really should be given a blueprint to understand how your body works, what the pain mechanism is, what tightness, stiffness means, how to rehab basic injuries, this kind of stuff. Or at least that's my opinion, because otherwise you're going to live in fear of your own body, which sounds a bit mental, doesn't it? Like, people don't even know how their brain works either. Our brain and our body, it's what we live in every day. It's our vehicle for life, for everything. And yet we know more about the fucking Kardashians on the telly or something. You could just be spending your time so much better. Not that you can't watch these things and have fun, but even taking small amounts, 5 or 10 minutes a day, learn some basic things about your body. If you love to train, it's going to pay so much dividends. So, because if we don't know it, we can easily fall into, like me years ago, if I hurt my toe, I would have just taken 6 weeks off. That's what would have happened. That's what happened all the time. Like, I'd have back pain so much, and I just lie on the couch and I just stopped training because I lived in fear in my body. I thought the pain I was getting in my back meant that I slipped a disc or that I might have fractured something in my back, and then I'd stop moving. Then the less you move, the tighter, stiffer you get, and then the more deconditioned you get, the more momentum you lose, the results go down, and you're into the spiral. Okay, the spiral I call the roundabout of injuries and average progress. And that's where I was for 10 years, never getting progress in anything that I wanted. Okay, so that's why it's important to understand the injury and then understand the basic things about your body, and can you just train through it like I'm doing with the toe example, because through doing that, I'm still making progress. Like, maybe think of it like this. Progress in sports, it's not just about your body, it's about your mind as well. And you could argue it's a lot more about your mind than you think. Like for Jiu-Jitsu, there's been so many years when I turn up to Jiu-Jitsu, let's say my early years, and I was training hard, because it depends on what environments you're in. There's a few killers in there, a few guys who ended up going to SPG, but I was training hard, going in there smashing each other. I wasn't learning too much though. Like, when I think of over the periods, I was training hard, it's a tough man, all these things, getting great cardio, and yes, all that. But my skill level in Jiu-Jitsu wasn't actually increasing that fast. And now, because of all the injuries and stuff, and I'm trying to do things smarter, I'm using my brain so much more. Even when I'm rolling very lightly, I'm thinking about what I'm doing. After the class, 10 or 15 minutes, what went well? What could have went better? How am I going to make it better? And then I look something up for 5 minutes on how to make the problem better from that class. And then the next day I go in and I know a little bit more. Small gains through educating myself on Jiu-Jitsu and weaknesses in my own game. And just through doing that, my progress is much quicker than it was before when I was training so much more. Does that make sense? So I was using the body, we'll say, so much more before, but wasn't using my brain. Now, through these different injuries and stuff, training around them in lighter ways, not physically pushing myself as much, but I'm pushing myself up here with my brain and my understanding of the sport, and my progress is actually going up quicker. So it's just great realizations that I'm having now, and that this is how I should have been doing things, but look, you have to go through it. So that's why understand the injury, can you push through or not, and even when you can't, if you can't do what you want, do what you can. Start plugging into the mental side of it. And that could be true for any sport, like soccer, Gaelic, hurling, whatever it is. There's hidden potential there for you to improve if you actually sat down and thought about what are the weaknesses in your game, or what are the strengths and how could you improve them more. Like a good line, which I heard from Gordon Ryan, one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners ever, is think about how would you beat yourself. So that's an easy one. In jiu-jitsu, you find out by the way that people beat you. The higher belts, how do they beat you? That's how someone beats you. But you could even think of it yourself. And like even in Gaelic, if you're a cornerback, what's your weakness? Does someone always beat you at the first sprint? Or is it that when they're facing you, I don't know, I haven't played Gaelic in so long, but yeah, you're not so great at tackling when they're facing you. Like, what is it? And when you sit down and identify it, then you can make a little plan to improve it. Instead of just playing, running all the time. And when you're injured is a great time to actually step back and do this. Like even there, I'm just thinking on the top of my head, but if I analyse myself, how could someone beat me? Or even my marker, how is my marker usually beating me? Oh, they're usually faster than me. I'm not that fast as a cornerback. Okay, well that means then you have to change where you're standing. You don't stand right beside him if he's faster than you. I'd stand a step in front of him to the side. So I'd be able to see him in my peripheral vision. If he starts running, I'm going to start running, but I have a bit of a head start. Okay, so like there's loads of different things you can do that you might not even realise to improve your game from the mental side, from understanding it more. And yeah, actually I've pretty much covered everything I had there in a roundabout way, but the last line, one of the best jiu-jitsu coaches ever was talking about this specific point, and he said persistence of thought is the most important skill to get in jiu-jitsu if you want to rise. And that's what I'm talking about here. It's not persistence of like your body, oh, let's go hard, I can keep going hard, and you're not thinking at all about improving what you're actually doing. But yeah, it's that persistence of thought, which is going to help you level up quicker, and I'm actually understanding it now. And as he said, it's the tougher one. Like after class, when you might be a bit tired or something, you don't want to take out your phone and think what went well, what didn't go well. You know, it actually can be a bit tougher than you think sometimes to stay consistent with that, but that's what's going to elevate your game in whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, so there were the 3 points. Drop the illusion. Just everyone's going to be getting injured, so that's why you need to learn about this stuff. The second one was deciding on your commitments, and then the third one was understanding the injury. And then we talked about how you can, if you can't do what you want, you can do what you can as well. If it is a worse injury and you can't really be training through it, you can start using your mind more now to elevate your game in the meantime. Cool. Okay, so we'll leave it there. So I suppose on the announcements at the end, actually, yes, I usually talk about the Physical Freedom Program, but now there is a Mobility for Jiu-Jitsu class that I'm starting this Saturday, 15th of February, 11:30 to 12:30. So this is actually my first class. Yeah, I've been, in the 5 years of coaching, 5 or 6 years of coaching, I've never done a class. And loads of people asked me to do one, and I never wanted to do one because my life was changed by 6 or 7 or 8 coaches over 5 years, all one-to-one. Nearly all, about 90% of one-to-one. And that's what I loved, that's what I resonated with, and that's what I wanted to do. I'll get the best progress for someone when it's one-to-one, and they give me their full time, effort, and attention. That's how you get it. But going on through life, and obviously getting back into jiu-jitsu, taking it more seriously, coaching the jiu-jitsu, I can see how many people need the mobility there. Like, oh yeah, like everyone needs it. Like every movement in jiu-jitsu, every move in jiu-jitsu has an underlying movement that your body needs to do. So if you don't have the physical freedom or the mobility to do all the movements that you need, you're really going to struggle with the moves. And there's so many people there with chronic pains and injuries and limitations holding them back. So when you work on the mobility, you're less likely to get injured, you're better prepared to do the moves of the sport, so performance will go up, and you'll have more longevity in the sport as well, which is what we all want. And I've been there where I had to give up jiu-jitsu at white belt for a full year because of all the chronic pains and injuries that I had. And that's how I got started on my own journey. So that class is there now. Really looking forward to doing it. I've already worked with a good number of people in the gym, one-to-one, so then it just makes sense to start the class. And I'm even going to stick around for some roles afterwards. So yeah, the Mobility for Jiu-Jitsu class, 15th of February at Brazier Jiu-Jitsu in Inchicore. And it's at 11:30 to 12:30, and that's going to be every week. So if someone's listening to this is open to any gym now, or any jiu-jitsu practitioner. It's not just people in Brazier. Like, it's, if you're watching this and you do jiu-jitsu and you want to improve your mobility for jiu-jitsu, look it up. So go onto my Instagram, Guided and Settle on Instagram, and you'll see one of the latest posts there a bit more information on it. But yeah, Saturday 15th February, 11:30, 12:30 every week. And DM me as well. DM me if you have any questions on it. And yeah, we've the usual stuff. Look, the Physical Freedom Program, the membership option is there, and there's the one-to-one, which you can read more about. And lastly, yeah, if you listen on Spotify, follow and rate the podcast, and on YouTube, subscribe there on the channel if you're watching. And yes, actually, I did a call out last week where I was saying the rating was on 9 for the podcast on Spotify for ages. It was actually annoying me, and I was like, look, would someone just go in and rate that and give it the 10? So someone actually did that, so thank you. Yeah, it was just, I don't know, I just seen 9 for so long. I was like, right, just get it to 10, get it to that even number, and then we'll be happy with it. So yeah, appreciate it, whoever was doing that. But I think it's the boy who cried wolf, isn't it? I don't ask for many things at all, and the odd time I do, and people do it, which I appreciate, or if it could be a small favour if I share something for family or friends or whatever. Yeah, so I appreciate that. I think it's important. Look, if you're asking for stuff all the time, no one's going to be listening to you. Okay, so that's it. Don't settle, live true to yourself, and we'll talk to you next week.